My child, if the room around you is quiet right now, if there is nobody beside you in this moment, do not pass over what I am about to say. I am Archangel Michael, and I have come to you today with intention that was sealed in heaven long before your eyes opened this morning. This is not background noise. This is not something you stumbled across while scrolling through an ordinary afternoon. Heaven arranged this meeting. Heaven chose this second. And heaven is asking you to remain exactly where you are. You may believe that solitude crept into your life uninvited. You may think the stillness around you is a symptom of something missing, something broken, something that went wrong along the way. But I am here to shatter that assumption before it takes another breath inside your spirit. Your solitude is not a wound. It is a doorway. And I have been waiting on the other side of it for longer than you realize. I can see the chair you're sitting in. I can feel the weight pressing against your shoulders. I can hear the unspoken sentences turning over and over inside your mind. The ones you never say out loud because you convinced yourself that nobody would listen even if you did. Today, I am listening. Today, heaven is leaning in, and everything you have carried in secret is about to be acknowledged by the one who formed you. Do not leave. Do not scroll past this moment. The reason your spirit grew still just now, the reason something inside your chest shifted when you heard these first words, is because your soul recognizes what your mind has not yet accepted. This was arranged. You were summoned. If you sense that truth settling into you right now, if something in your spirit just exhaled for the first time in weeks, type the word Amen in the comments below. Speak it into existence. Let heaven know that you received this invitation. I need to tell you something before we go further, and I need you to hear it without the filter of your pain. You did not arrive at this moment because of failure. You arrived because of faithfulness. The same faithfulness that kept you standing when despair offered you a seat. The same quiet determination that made you open your eyes one more morning when closing them permanently crossed your mind. That faithfulness has been recorded in heaven, and it is the very reason your name was elevated above the noise of millions to be spoken with specific, unmistakable purpose. Stay close to me now, my child, because the words I carry today are not shallow encouragements that dissolve the moment life presses hard again. These are declarations carved into the foundation of your destiny, and they have been waiting for this exact hour to reach you. I know how many mornings you have woken up and immediately felt the absence. Not just the absence of company, but the absence of being truly known. You have walked through rooms full of people and still felt invisible. You have spoken words that seemed to land on deaf ground. You have reached out in kindness only to feel the emptiness echo back louder than before. And slowly, quietly, you began accepting that perhaps invisibility was simply your portion. Let me correct that lie today, with authority and with tenderness. You were never invisible. You were never overlooked. You were never a footnote in someone else's chapter. Heaven has been watching every single second of your existence, and not a single tear, not a single sleepless hour, not a single whispered prayer has gone unrecorded. I did not come today to offer you temporary comfort that fades by tomorrow. I came to dismantle the structure of loneliness that has been building inside your heart, brick by silent brick. Because there is something you must understand before we go further. The enemy of your peace does not always arrive as a dramatic storm. Sometimes he arrives as quiet, as distance, as the slow erosion of your belief that you matter. He whispers that your absence would go unnoticed. He suggests that your contributions are forgettable. He plants the idea that love is something other people receive while you watch from the margins. Today, I am pulling those whispers out by the root. You are not marginal. You are central to a design that heaven has been orchestrating since before the foundations of the earth were poured. And if you will give me the next several minutes of your attention, If you will stay right here in this sacred stillness, I will prove it to you in ways that your doubting mind will not be able to dismiss. I designed you for depth. I gave you eyes that see underneath what other people accept at face value. I gave you a heart that feels what other people walk right past. That is not a malfunction. That is a gift, even though it has often felt like a burden. And today, I want you to stop apologizing for the way I built you. The sensitivity you have been shamed for is the very instrument I chose to use. The emotional range that exhausted you is the same range that allows you to understand suffering in ways that comfort those around you without them ever knowing why your words land so differently. I know the specific kind of loneliness you have been living with, not the kind that shouts, the kind that hums, the kind that sits in the background of every conversation, every celebration, every ordinary afternoon, reminding you that something essential is missing. You have felt it at family gatherings where laughter surrounded you but did not reach your core. You have felt it in friendship that looked warm from the outside but left your deepest questions unanswered. You have felt it in quiet rooms where the walls seemed to lean closer and the silence grew teeth. That loneliness was not evidence of your failure. It was evidence of your design. You were crafted to be connected at a depth that the surface world rarely provides. Your spirit was built for communion that goes beyond small talk and polite exchanges. And when that depth was not available, your soul recognized the deficit even when your mind tried to rationalize it away. My child, if the weight of what I just spoke is beginning to land inside your chest, if you feel even a fraction of relief knowing that heaven has not lost sight of you, press the like button on this message right now. Not as a ritual, not as an obligation, but as a private agreement between you and heaven that says, I am willing to hear more. I am ready to be found. What I'm about to reveal to you is not comfortable, but it is necessary and it is deeply, deeply true. I have watched you master the art of endurance without acknowledgement. You learned to carry emotional weight the way some people carry groceries. Silently, efficiently, without drawing attention. You held families together while your own heart was fracturing. You showed up for others on days when your own legs could barely hold you upright. And when anyone asked how you were doing, you offered that familiar shield. I am fine. When in truth, you were drowning in plain sight. I saw every performance. I noticed every mask. And I loved you worst with you, every single one of them. Not because the masks impressed me, but because I knew what lived underneath them. Courage. Fragile, determined, breathtaking courage. The kind that does not announce itself. The kind that simply shows up again and again, even when the audience is completely empty. That courage has not gone unnoticed. Heaven does not measure strength the way the world measures it. The world counts applause. Heaven counts faithfulness. The world rewards visibility. Heaven honors the quiet obedience that happens when nobody's watching. And, my child, you have been quietly obedient in seasons that would have crushed lesser spirits. You showed up when bitterness would have been easier. You forgave when resentment felt justified. You kept praying when the ceiling felt like iron. You kept hoping when every piece of evidence argued against it. Do you have any idea how rare that is? Do you have any understanding of how heaven responds to a heart that refuses to harden, even when hardness would have been the rational choice? Your seasons of isolation were never punishment. They were preparation. Every room that emptied around you was making space for what heaven was about to pour in. Every relationship that dissolved was removing interference from a frequency that needed to be clear. And every night you spent alone with your thoughts, I was there, adjusting your heart so it could carry what is coming. This is not something I say to make you feel better in a passing moment. This is truth that has been stored in the vaults of heaven, waiting for the precise second when your spirit could receive it without breaking. And today is that second. Right now, in this stillness, Your heart is finally soft enough and strong enough at the same time to hear what I have carried for you across eternity. I know the nights. I know them intimately. The ones where sleep refused to come and your mind replayed every decision you wish you could reverse. The ones where you lay in the dark and wondered if anyone in the entire universe was thinking about you at that exact moment. The ones where silence became so thick it felt like a physical weight pressing against your chest. During those nights, I was with you, not as a distant observer, not as an indifferent deity watching from above. I was present the way breath is present, so close to you that there was no space between my attention and your pain. I heard the prayers you were too exhausted to finish. I caught the tears that fell sideways onto your pillow. I stayed awake with you through every single hour that felt like it would never end. And I want you to know something about those nights that will change the way you remember them. They were not wasted. They were not pointless stretches of suffering that produced nothing. Those nights were forging something inside you that daylight alone could never create. A depth of character. A reservoir of compassion. A capacity for gratitude that can only be built by someone who knows what it means to go without. If you have spent years wondering whether your sensitivity was a flaw, if you have ever been made to feel that feeling deeply was weakness, I want you to settle this right now. Type these words below. Slowly. Deliberately. I am seen by heaven. Let those words move from your fingertips into the atmosphere. Declare it, because it is fact. Now listen carefully, because I am about to take you into a place in your own story that you have been avoiding. You have been telling yourself a version of your life that leaves out the most important chapters. The chapters where you were brave enough to stay when leaving would have been easier. The chapters where you chose forgiveness when the wound was still bleeding. The chapters where you held someone else together while your own foundation was cracking beneath you. You edited those chapters out because they did not fit the narrative you were told about yourself. The world told you that strength looks like independence, that maturity looks like needing nothing from anyone, that worthiness is measured by how many people seek you out. But heaven has never measured you that way. In the economy of heaven, your worth was established before you drew your first breath. It was not set by your accomplishments or your social circle or your ability to fill a room with your presence. It was set by the one who formed you. And that value has never fluctuated. Not once. Not in your worst season. Not in your most isolated hour. I want to speak now about the nights, because I know what happens when the sun goes down and the distractions fall away. I know what surfaces in the dark hours when there is no task to complete, no person to attend to, no responsibility to hide behind. That is when the ache rises. That is when the questions come crawling back. Am I forgotten? Does anyone truly see me? Would my absence even register? Has my suffering accomplished anything at all? Or has it simply been meaningless pain without purpose? Those questions have tormented you. And I want you to know, I have heard every single one of them. They were never invisible to me. Every midnight question you launched into the darkness landed directly in my hands, and I have been composing the answers ever since. Today, I deliver them. I want to speak to you now about something that the world rarely acknowledges. The invisible labor of the faithful. The work that nobody sees. Nobody applauds. Nobody records in any ledger of achievement. The way you pray for people who have never prayed for you. The way you carry concern for others in your heart even when your own heart is breaking under its own burden. The way you show up to serve when your body is screaming for rest and your spirit is running on fumes. That labor is not invisible to me. Every act of kindness you performed in exhaustion. Every meal you prepared when you had no appetite yourself. Every conversation where you listened deeply while your own words went unheard. Every night you stayed up worrying about someone who had never once worried about you. I watched all of it. and every single instance was entered into a record that carries more weight than any earthly resume could ever contain. You have been building something in secret, something that the world cannot see because the world does not have the eyes for it. But heaven sees it clearly, and what you have built, through pain, through patience, through relentless love that refused to stop giving even when it stopped receiving, is a legacy that will outlast every temporary structure the world has ever praised. You did not disqualify yourself from grace. You cannot disqualify yourself, because the worth I placed on you is not performance-based. It is identity-based. And your identity, my beloved child, is that you are mine, claimed, sealed, guarded, held in a grip that has never loosened even when your own hands let go. I know there is a part of you that resists this, a part hurt too many times to accept something this absolute without suspicion. That part whispers, "This sounds too good. Something will go wrong. It always does." I see that guard. I understand why it exists. It was built from real pain, real disappointment, real seasons where hope led to heartbreak. But today, I am not asking you to tear that wall down overnight. I am asking you to make a crack in it, just wide enough for one beam of truth to enter. You are not forgotten. That is not poetry. That is not motivation. That is a verdict issued from the throne room of the living God. Your name, your specific name, was proclaimed across the courts of heaven, not whispered casually, not mentioned in passing. Proclaimed, with the kind of authority that rearranges spiritual atmospheres and silences every accusing voice that has ever spoken against you. Do you understand what that means? When heaven speaks a name, it is not routine. It is a sovereign act. It means that the creator of stars and oceans and mountain ranges paused, turned his full attention to one soul, and declared, "This one is mine. This one is protected. This one is coming into their season." Your name did not drift through the corridors of heaven like an echo. It was carried by angels who knew your story from beginning to end, by voices that have been interceding for you in languages your ears have never heard. Your name was spoken in heaven the way a general speaks the name of a soldier who has endured beyond reason, with honor, with recognition, with the kind of pride reserved for those who refused to surrender when every circumstance demanded it. My beloved child, what you are hearing today is not a single message that ends when this recording stops. This is the beginning of an ongoing conversation between your spirit and heaven. If you want to continue receiving the messages that heaven has been storing for you, subscribe to this channel right now. Press that button. It costs you nothing, but it signals to your spirit that you are choosing to remain in this sacred dialogue. Stay connected. Heaven has more to say. Let me tell you what happens when heaven speaks your name in the way it has been spoken today. Chains that were invisible begin to loosen. Doors that were welded shut begin to creak. Situations that looked permanent begin to shift at the molecular level. Not because anything changed in the physical world, but because something changed in the spiritual world. And the spiritual always governs the physical, even when the physical takes time to catch up. I am not giving you empty hope. I am giving you intelligence from the command center of heaven. And the intelligence report says this: your season is turning. Not eventually. Not when you have earned enough points of faithfulness. It is turning now, today, in this very hour. The reason you feel stirring in your spirit as you listen is because the turning has already begun inside you. The external circumstances will follow. They always do, because what is born in the spirit must eventually manifest in the natural. That soldier is you. You did not surrender. You may have stumbled. You may have crawled on your knees through entire seasons. You may have doubted whether the battle was even worth fighting, but you are still here, you are still listening. Your heart is still open enough to receive a word from heaven at this very moment. And that, my child, is precisely why your name was spoken with such weight. Heaven does not speak names based on perfection. It speaks them based on persistence. It speaks them based on faithfulness that survives the drought. It speaks them based on love that keeps beating even when every logical reason to shut down has been exhausted. I want you to sit with this for a moment. Do not rush past it. Do not treat it like another encouraging phrase that will dissolve by morning. This is bedrock. Being known in heaven means something the world has no category for. The world knows you by your job title, by your social status, by the number of people who remember your birthday. But heaven knows you by your essence, by the secret prayers you whisper at 2 a.m. when you think nobody can hear. By the way you treat people who can do absolutely nothing for you. By the tears you shed for other people's children. By the forgiveness you extended when your flesh was screaming for revenge. Heaven has been keeping a record, and the record does not contain your failures. It contains your faithfulness. Every time you chose kindness when cruelty would have been easier. Every time you returned to prayer after a season of silence. Every time you opened your Bible when your eyes were too swollen from crying to read clearly. Every time you whispered, "I still trust you," when every circumstance argued that trust was foolishness. That record is your inheritance, not your mistakes, not your regrets. The moments you replay in your mind wishing you had chosen differently, those were already addressed, already covered, already processed through a mercy so complete that heaven no longer references them. Today, I am asking you to stop rehearsing what heaven has already forgiven. Stop punishing yourself for chapters that have already been closed. Stop using your past as evidence against your future, because heaven has issued a new verdict, and it supersedes every accusation you have leveled against yourself. The verdict is this: you are worthy, not because you earned it, not because you figured out the formula. You are worthy because the one who defines worth looked at you with full knowledge of everything you have done and everything you have failed to do, and said, "Mine." That word changes everything. It changes the way you wake up tomorrow. It changes the way you respond to rejection. It changes the way you interpret silence. When you know that you belong to the Creator of the universe, the opinions of the world lose their gravitational pull. The applause of crowds becomes unnecessary. The approval of people who never took the time to understand you becomes irrelevant, because the highest authority has already spoken, and what he said cannot be overruled. I know there were times when you wondered if anyone would miss you if you were gone for a while, whether your presence would be noticed or your absence would simply be absorbed. Those questions were not based on facts. They were born from wounds, and I want you to hear me say this with unmovable certainty. I would miss you. Heaven would miss you. The plan of God would be incomplete without your specific presence in it. You are not interchangeable. You are not replaceable. You are a one-of-a-kind instrument in heaven's orchestra, and without your sound, the symphony is diminished. My child, I know that what I am speaking right now is touching a place that has been sealed for years. And I know with absolute certainty that you are not the only one who needs to hear this today. There is someone in your life right now, a friend who smiles in public but cries alone at night, a family member who has been carrying silence like a stone in their chest. Send this message to them right now. Share this in your family group chat, in your church prayer circle, on your Facebook page. Think of at least 3 people who have been invisible in their pain, and let this reach them today. You could be the bridge between their loneliness and heaven's answer. I want you to hold tightly to what you have heard so far, because what comes next requires every ounce of courage your spirit possesses. I am about to speak to the deepest root of your struggle. not the symptoms you have been managing on the surface, not the behaviors you have been modifying to survive. The root, the origin point from which everything else has grown, and when I pull it out, the entire structure of limitation that has been built on top of it will begin to collapse. Prepare your heart. Breathe deeply. And trust me, because I would never take you into a revelation that I had not already prepared you to survive. Now hear me carefully, because I am about to name what has been blocking you. And when I name it, you will feel something shift in your spirit. Something ancient and heavy will begin to lose its hold. The thing that has been standing between you and your breakthrough is not a person. It is not a circumstance. It is not a financial limitation or a relational failure. The thing that has been blocking you is a belief so deeply rooted in your identity that you stopped recognizing it as foreign. You began treating it as fact. The belief is this: that your silence means you have been abandoned, that the absence of dramatic intervention means heaven has moved on, that because rescue did not arrive on your timeline, rescue is not coming at all. That belief is a lie, and today, I am dismantling it piece by piece. Your silence was never abandonment. Your silence was incubation. The same way a seed must be buried in dark soil before it can break through into sunlight. Your spirit has been underground, not because it was dead, because it was growing. Roots were spreading beneath the surface that you couldn't see. Foundations were being reinforced that you could not feel. And the darkness that surrounded you was not a tomb, it was a womb. I know that is difficult to hear when you are still inside the darkness, when you cannot see the growth. But I am telling you from the perspective of eternity, what is happening in you right now is not decay, it is formation. And what is about to break through the surface will astonish every person who counted you out. Heaven operates on a timeline that the human mind was never designed to comprehend. You measure progress in days and weeks. Heaven measures it in readiness. And readiness cannot be rushed. It cannot be manufactured. Readiness comes through surrender. Through seasons where control is stripped away, and all that remains is raw trust. That is where you have been, in the furnace of surrender. And I know the temperature has been almost unbearable. I know there were moments when you questioned whether the heat was refining you or destroying you. Let me settle that question once and for all. The fire did not destroy a single thing that was truly yours. It only burned away what was never supposed to be attached to you in the first place. The opinions that were weighing you down, the expectations that did not belong to your calling, the relationships that were draining your anointing instead of replenishing it. The fire took those things, and I know it felt like loss, but it was surgery, painful, precise, and absolutely necessary for what comes next. What comes next, my child, is something you are not fully prepared to imagine, but I'm going to give you a glimpse. Not the full picture, because the full picture would overwhelm your current capacity, but enough to let you know that this season of isolation has not been wasted. Not a single second of it. The compassion you developed through your own suffering is about to become a ministry. The patience you built through waiting is about to become your greatest strategic advantage. The sensitivity that others dismissed is about to become the very thing that positions you for influence in rooms where hardened hearts have failed. You have been walking through a corridor of divine editing. Heaven has been cutting scenes from your life that would have ruined the story, removing characters who would have distracted you from your purpose. The version of your life that is emerging on the other side of this editing is cleaner, more focused, more aligned with the original design that was drafted before you were born. If the words I have spoken are resonating with something deep and unshakable inside you right now, if you feel in your spirit that this message was handcrafted for your exact situation, then seal it. Type these words in the comments below. I am not forgotten. Declare it over your life. Declare it over every room that emptied and every door that closed. Heaven is watching your declaration, and it is responding. I want to speak now about the arrangements that have been happening behind the curtain of your awareness. Because while you were wondering if heaven was paying attention, heaven was rearranging the entire landscape of your future. There were conversations happening about you in places you will never see. Decisions being made on your behalf by authorities you did not know existed. Doors being unlocked in buildings you have never entered. Seats being reserved at tables you have not yet been invited to. Angels were dispatched, not to watch from a distance, but to actively intervene in situations that would have harmed you if you had arrived too early. That promotion you thought you missed, you did not miss it. You were held back from it, because the environment attached to it would have crushed you before you were ready. That relationship that ended without explanation, it was removed. Because it was positioned along a path that led to devastation you could not see from where you stood. That opportunity that went to someone else, it was redirected. Because heaven had something better in storage, with your name already engraved on it. I know this is hard to believe when you are standing in the aftermath of loss, but I'm showing you the architecture behind what felt like chaos. Every removal was strategic. Every delay was protective. Every closed door was heaven saying, "Not this one. I have something that actually fits." You have not been drifting. You have been guided, even when your own feet felt uncertain. Even when you took a wrong turn and had to retrace your steps. Even when you sat down in the middle of the road and refused to move because exhaustion had swallowed your motivation. I was there, redirecting, recalculating, never abandoning the route I had planned for you. Think about the small decisions that did not seem important at the time. Choosing to stay home instead of going out. Choosing to rest instead of pushing forward. Pausing to reflect before acting. Each seemed ordinary, but together they formed a path. A path that was real and intentional, even though you could not see the destination. You did not know you were being led, but I directed every step. And the fact that you are here right now, hearing these words at this precise moment, is proof that the guidance worked. Today, I charge you with this. Release the belief that you are behind schedule. Release the lie that your best years have already passed. Release the accusation that your suffering was pointless. Release the fear that what is coming will look exactly like what has already been. I am doing a new thing today, not tomorrow, not next month, not when conditions improve or circumstances change. Today, the ground beneath your feet is shifting. The atmosphere around your life is being recalibrated. The spiritual weather over your household is breaking, and what has been held back is beginning to descend. You do not have to understand the mechanics of what I am doing. You do not have to see the blueprint. All you have to do is receive. Open your hands. Open your heart. Open your mouth and speak agreement with what heaven has already declared over you. Because the decree has already been issued. The resources have already been released. The angels have already been assigned. The only thing remaining is your willingness to accept that this is real, that this is for you, that this is happening now. I have not come today to give you a mild encouragement that helps you survive another week. I have come to redefine the way you see yourself, permanently. Because the greatest prison you have ever occupied was not built by your enemies. It was built by the distorted mirror you have been looking into. A mirror that reflected back a version of you that was too small, too flawed, too damaged, too late. That mirror is a liar, and today, I am smashing it. The reflection I hold up to you now is the one that has always existed in heaven. And in that reflection, you are not weak. You are battle-tested. You are not forgotten. You are strategically positioned. You are not behind. You are right on time, and you are not alone. You are surrounded by a cloud of witnesses who have been cheering for you through every silent struggle. I want you to understand something about divine timing that your frustration has prevented you from seeing clearly. When I hold something back from you, it is never cruelty. It is precision. The same precision that governs the rotation of planets and the rhythm of tides governs the unfolding of your story. Nothing in your life has been random. Nothing has been accidental. And nothing, absolutely nothing, has been wasted. The season of waiting you endured built a patience inside you that cannot be manufactured any other way. The rejections you absorbed created an immunity to the opinions of people who do not carry authority over your destiny. The losses you grieved cleared space for blessings that would not have fit inside the previous version of your life. Every subtraction was making room for a multiplication that is about to arrive. I want to address the specific fears that have taken root in the soil of your loneliness. The fear that you have already missed your window, that your chance came and went while you were dealing with something else. That fear is false. There is no expiration date on what heaven has designated for you. The blessing assigned to your name does not spoil. It does not transfer. It has been preserved, sealed in a vault with your name inscribed on the lock. And the key is in your hand right now. The fear that your best contribution has already been given, that you have already poured out everything of value. That fear is a distortion. You have not even scratched the surface of what lives inside you. The gifts you have exercised until now have been the introduction, the opening chapter, the warm-up before the performance begins. The fear that love will not find you again, that the kind of deep, knowing, faithful love you have always craved is reserved for other people. That fear is the cruelest lie of all, because the one who invented love is holding you right now. And his love is the foundation upon which every genuine connection is built. When you learn to receive love from the source, you will attract love that reflects the source, and it is coming. Now hear my decree. Because everything I have spoken today has been building to this moment, and what I am about to declare cannot be reversed by any power in heaven or on earth or beneath the earth. I decree over your life that the season of invisible suffering is finished. The days of carrying weight that nobody acknowledges are coming to an end, not because the weight was imaginary, but because heaven is sending reinforcements. People are being positioned around you right now who will see you the way I see you, who will value you the way I value you. I decree that what was taken from you is being restored, not in the same form, because restoration is not repetition, but in a form that is so perfectly suited to who you are becoming that you will eventually thank me for the removal. What is coming is better than what was taken. That is a promise sealed by the blood of the covenant. I decree that your name will be spoken on earth with the same weight it carries in heaven. The recognition you were denied, the appreciation that was withheld, it's being redirected toward you now, because heaven has decided that the season of hiddenness has accomplished its purpose, and the season of visibility has begun. I decree that loneliness will no longer be your companion, that the silence in your home will be filled with laughter and the sounds of a life that is overflowing. I am not speaking about someday. I am speaking about a shift that begins today, and I decree that every word spoken over you in darkness, every label attached to you by people who did not have the authority to define you, is canceled, nullified, stripped of all power. Those words are dead, and what remains is only what heaven has said. And heaven says, you are chosen. You are protected. You are destined for glory. This decree is final. It is irreversible, and it is active, beginning this very second. My beloved child, let me gather what I have spoken over you today and seal it like a garment of protection. You came into this moment carrying the weight of invisibility. You carried the ache of wondering whether anyone truly sees you. And today, heaven answered. Your name was proclaimed in the courts of glory. Your suffering was acknowledged by the throne. Your faithfulness was honored by the one whose opinion is the only one that has ever mattered. You are not forgotten. You are not behind. You are not alone. You are held, named, and fiercely loved. If this message has reached a place inside you that no human conversation has been able to touch, do not let it remain private. Share this right now with someone who has been suffering in silence. Send it in your WhatsApp group, your church prayer circle, your family text thread. Think of at least 2 people who need to hear that their name was spoken in heaven, and send this to them today. My child, these messages that reach you in your most vulnerable hours do not sustain themselves. If you feel led to support this divine work, if you want to join the community that carries these words to souls across the earth, I invite you to visit our Ko-Fi community through the link in the description or the pinned comment below. Whether you become a member or plant a seed through a donation, every act of giving becomes fuel for the mission that found you today. You are not supporting a platform. You are supporting a lifeline. Subscribe to this channel as well, so the next time heaven stores a message for you, it reaches you without delay. And now, I pray. Heavenly Father, I bring this precious child before your throne, the one who felt invisible, the one who questioned their worth, the one who sat in silence wondering if anyone remembered their name. You know them. You have always known them, and today, you have spoken directly into the deepest chamber of their heart. Seal every word that was spoken over them. Let it take root in soil that will not be disturbed by doubt or circumstance. Protect this child as they step into the new season you have prepared. Surround them with people who see them clearly and love them well. Restore what was stolen. Multiply what was planted. And let their life become a living testimony that heaven never forgets. Heaven never abandons. And heaven always speaks the names of those who belong to you. In the mighty name above every name, the name that silences storms and opens graves and makes demons tremble, I seal this prayer and this promise over your life. Amen.